Louisiana All-American Sports Show. 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 Louisiana. If the sports you wanna talk about, then listen to the hottest show that's coming out the South. It's Eric Hatfield and Coach Perry Daniels, man. They're gonna sit you down and tell you all about the game and make it plain. 96.9 FM, that's the station. To hear the best sports talk show in the nation. Without hesitation, you should get with this. And get your popcorn ready, boy, you better not miss. Louisiana All-American Sports Show. Louisiana All-American Sports Show. Louisiana All-American Sports Show. Louisiana. It's Joker P. Check us out.
I'm just so fresh, so clean. Good morning, Baton Rouge, and welcome to another edition of the Louisiana All-American Sports Show here on 96.9 FM WHYRLP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. Today is Saturday, August 6th, 2016, and you are tuned in to the 32nd edition in the year 2016 of the Louisiana All-American Sports Show. Try saying that 3 times fast. This is Eric Hatfield.
And I'm Gerard Piper, a.k.a. Joker P.
And I'm Coach Perry Daniels.
And hey, we're locked and loaded, ready to give you another edition of the Sports Show, bringing you what's going on in the community, bringing you what's going on in the sports world, giving you something to think about, and hopefully we make your Saturday morning, if not a little bit better, a little more intellectually stimulating, and hopefully a little more entertaining. So look, guys, there's a lot going on in the world. So with that, I will yield the floor to Joker P. He's really been doing the legwork on a story that's a couple of stories that are affecting our community and our nation as a whole. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Joker. Hope you young athletes are out there listening attentively.
I want to thank you for being here, Eric Hatfield, and also Coach Perry Daniels calling in from Washington, D.C. And of course, with all of the things that's going on in the world today with the police and the community, and we have another killing. We have 2 more killings here in this. I was talking to Coach earlier today, and I was like, as soon as I put a lot of energy, and I'm putting all of my emotions and feelings into one case, the Alton Sterling, or Philando Castile, and you hear about another one, then you hear about someone else, and it's hard to to spread out and kind of disperse that energy in all of those different ones. And now we have Corrine Gaines that got killed by the police. And this was a 23-year-old African-American woman, and her 5-year-old son, Cody Gaines, was shot. And when I saw that, it just made my heart cringe. And of course, these police went over there for a traffic ticket. And that's another thing I've seen. People getting killed behind traffic tickets.
Always starting with minor offenses.
Right, it always started with some type of minor offense, and this woman missed a court date, and the police allegedly went over there and kicked her door down after a standoff with this woman, which I don't understand. Why would you have a standoff and go to someone's house, because of tickets, because she missed a court date? But come to find out, it was an earlier video that was released the next day showing that they had a previous encounter with Corrine Gaines in a couple of months prior, and these were the reason why she had got the tickets in the first place. And so she had a confrontation with the police, and this was a woman that was very she was a very strong black woman. Basically,
she didn't like the way they were treated.
She didn't like the way they were treated.
Put it mildly.
And it reminded me of Sandra Bland also, the same way. She was a little defiant with the police, and I think that that aggravated them a little bit. They ended up towing her car and everything, and so she never took the tickets, and so she wasn't going to show up for court, which I think they knew. I also think they knew when they went over there to confront her about, or to see if she wasn't, or why she didn't come to court or whatever for the warrants. I think they knew going in the way she was going to act, pretty much. But she didn't answer the door. She never answered the door. They claimed they heard some people inside and this and that. And then the report that I heard said the officer obtained a key. But later reports come to find out that the officers actually kicked her door in, and they was the first ones to shoot at her. Now, I don't know what, they say she had a long-barreled shotgun, and this was a woman about 120 pounds, 23 years old. The story was she was holding one shotgun in one hand and holding her 5-year-old in the other hand. So I want you guys to listen. It's been the Corrine Gaines' sister went to the hospital to interview her nephew, Cody Gaines, and she went in and she made a recording of Cody Gaines, and he gave testimony. He's 5 years old, but this kid is so strong. It's kind of sad, but I want you guys to take a listen to this.
My sister.
Yes.
And they shot you too.
Yes. Because they saw me run, and then they hurt my arm.
So they shot you on purpose?
Yes. The end.
The end.
The end. There's a lot more to that video. If you all want to see that video, it's now out there. His name is Cody Gaines. He's 5 years old, and I would recommend that you share this video, so people can get a look at it. It's kind of sad when I think about it because he's going to have to grow up now without his mother. His last memory, his mother's going to be that the police killed my mother, and shot me too. And he said they shot him when he ran. So to me, that meant like when he kicked the door in, they saw a little child running, they actually shot him. And that's terrible. And so I don't know what the answer is, but the way this thing is playing out, I don't know if they're trying to incite something, a race riot. I don't know but the main thing we're going to have to do is we got to root out all of these guys.
Well, maybe they thought, like Michael Brown, this kid was going to lunge at him from 30 feet away and beat him to death. I mean, look, when we talked about this, we get together every Wednesday and talk about what we're going to talk about on Saturday. And so with the Corrine Gaines issue, I try to do my research and homework like everybody else does, and it was really hard. It was really hard to get my hands around. There were so many different accounts of this story. It was hard to get my hands around facts. But here's some facts that are indisputable. Someone shot a 5-year-old. The police have a duty to I forget exactly what the directive is, but basically preserve life by any means necessary, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think if you're capping kindergartners, you're probably not staying true to to that directive. In addition, this woman, they're saying this woman had a shotgun. Let's say for argument's sake she did, and she's got a child in one hand and a shotgun in another. Even if you're talking about a 20-gauge shotgun, which is, for those of you not familiar with guns, it's probably one of the least powerful common shotguns out there. For a woman that small with one hand, that's hard to do. I weigh 200 pounds. I don't think I could fire a gun like that, especially not while holding a child. So that sounds suspicious. But they have forensic pathologists, blood spatter experts. They have people to investigate that stuff. But it's so suspicious, and it's a pattern that keeps happening over and over and over again. And I guess the kicker for me is they shot a child. This child said it in plain English. I ran and they shot me. The end. And that is, I don't know what happened. There are a lot of different accounts of the story, but this is not, that we're not knowing more about this, that the public is not, or maybe the public's demanding more about this and we're not getting it. I don't know what the answer is, but these types of stories are becoming a pattern. They're not isolated, and it's a problem. And I am very frustrated with the fact that it isn't treated like a problem that it is. There are a couple of sides we have a system. So this is what I was trying to say. This is what I was thinking about while you were introducing the story. We have a system for a reason, Typically, the average person, an average situation, you get pulled over by the police. Yes, sir, no, sir. Here's my registration. Take your ticket and move on. However, there is no law that says you have to, roll out the red carpet for the police. You have a right to pretty much, remain silent, so to speak. You don't have to cooperate. They have a right. They can, and the police have a right to arrest you if they're probable cause for a crime and blah, blah, blah. And it gets settled in court with attorneys and judges. It does not get settled in someone's home shooting that person and their child. They want to serve a petty warrant, play this game with her. She probably made him mad. Then that's their next move in this chess game. And then she goes downtown. They book her and they let her go and she goes to court. That's how it's supposed to happen if you're going to have this conflict with the police. People aren't not supposed to come in like jackbooted thugs, blasting over something so petty. You know, and if she doesn't open the door, it just something like this should never ever escalate to this point. We've got to have, you know, they could have easily, if it was that important to them, had somebody sit outside the house, and when she gets out to go to work, slap the cuffs on her. You're going to jail. Period. End of discussion. There are a million different ways this could have been happening.
The family was out there. They could have, you know, the family wanted to try to, you know, the family said afterwards on the news report that, hey, how come they didn't use us? We could have got through to her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Her sister or, you know, her cousin and people like that to say, hey, you know.
Anything but kicking in the house and shooting over something so relatively minor. It's
and we also had Paul O'Neill, the 18-year-old here in Chicago. They released a video of him, and the coroner said he was shot in the back, and his sister came out and said Paul had goals, and you know it's another horrific video. It's a video of him. He stole a car, and they're shooting inside the car. You know, he hits one car, and they're not in danger, but they're just shooting at him, trying to stop him. So they're shooting to kill. He wrecks the car and jumps out, and they chase him on foot. The officer, that the alleged shooter, cut off his body cam, so you don't see the actual shooting.
Another trigger man.
Right, but
we have the trigger man's name.
I don't have his name at this point, but when you see the video, he was shot in the back, and then they handcuffed him. You know, you see him laying on the ground, dead, pretty much dead, and shot. And they, you know, get your hands behind your back, but his arms are limp. It's like they're handcuffing basically a dead man.
Well, you know, they were afraid his ghost was going to come out and assault him. That's the kind of nonsense.
Hey, so let me get this in here, man.
So, go ahead, Coach.
On the Gaines situation, to note that there are reports that she was claiming sovereign citizenship, which is a movement in the United States to where they don't recognize the laws and the rulings of the land. So based on that, there was some history of conflict with her and the police. So the police may have come over there with a little jaded mentality regarding what they were going to receive there. But that is an important element of this case that we have to mention.
That's right.
That there are reports that she was claiming sovereign citizenship. Now, I don't know if we as a society want sure that our police get fired upon before they fire.
Sure.
That's a debate that we just we have to have at some point. I think at first, right now we're at the point to where we should just be talking about how do we de-escalate situations with our police officers. And then we can move on to some more detailed tactics of what we want them to deliver. So, but at this point, right now, far too many people are dying of encounters with the police.
Right. And like you said, you were saying earlier about the shoot to kill mentalities as far as the training goes. You know, when a guy is, you know, I can see if a guy was in a stolen car, he's coming right at you, and you know, but if a guy is going away, you know, I don't know what's in their heart. I don't know if they're trained that way to stop the car by any means necessary. You know what I mean? So
yes, by any means necessary. Because
well, from what I read, they was in the wrong. From what I read, the Chicago, it's a law that they passed that, you know, if the car is not endangering anyone else, or it's something to the fact where you're supposed to go ahead and let it go, you know, let it keep going, not pursue it, not shoot behind it, I mean.
But in practice, it's perfectly okay because there's this larger narrative out there that you are protecting society. You are doing what is best for society as a whole.
Yes.
So these three guys, they've been suspended. Their privileges have been taken away from them, their police officer privileges. So that is new because most of the time it's an administrative suspension and they're getting paid and all of that
desk duty or something
while this is going on. So this is taking a little different of a course, but we'll see how it all plays out, man. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. And as a society, for you, Joker, and I've got to agree with Eric. It was tough for me to get into this Gaines case as well. And we all have to keep in mind, I know that we do this on a regular, and we try to provide an avenue for people of the community to have an outlet regarding the subjects. But keep in mind, guys, that we need that same outlet, that this does have an effect on the psyche, no matter how professional we try to handle and do our jobs or these things that we've chosen to do. It is having an effect on us as well. So
yes, sir.
Yes, most definitely.
You know, I think let's look at what we have. Let me do the professorial summary. So we have a number of issues here, right? We have the recurring theme that seems to be coming up every time we talk about this, over and over. And I've lost track. I can't even recount the ways now. Alton Sterling, Phil Castile, all the stories now. Corin Gaines and many others. De-escalation seems to be at the recurring theme that comes up over and over and over and over and over again. Because no matter what the situation is, I think the first attempt should be to de-escalate. It's in everyone's best interest, including the cops, obviously. Everyone's best interest. I killed that thing. There was a spider. To de-escalate, very big spider. To de-escalate a situation and not result in a loss of life. I think the other issue we're looking at is the use of force, the culture about use of force, and how quickly members of law enforcement can go from that apprehend. Perry, you had a good alliteration for it, and I can't remember. Apprehend and prosecute as opposed to
apprehend, prosecute, and execute.
Right, as opposed to escalate and execute. Right, something like yes. Don't kill them. Try not to kill people, I guess, is the point. You have that on the table too.
But I also think with the training, and I think with the stereotyping and the profiling. I'll give you an example. Most of the time, I've seen a lot of cases where I've seen white people that has guns or in a hostage situation, but a lot of times they seem to come out alive. Even Dr. Dre, this is a billionaire, and then last week the police was at his house and handcuffed him. And I thought about that. I said, now he's living in Beverly Hills. These people got to know who Dr. Dre is.
They probably do, and that's why he got cuffed.
You got to know who. If you're in that area, they'll probably act like they don't know.
He's missed to F the police. They know who he is.
We're gonna find out. It was something about some burglar or something, and I guess they're not believing he's who he say he is. And I thought about that, and I say, you know what? That'll never happen to Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or Warren Buffett. Mistaken. Oh well, we didn't know this was your house. Yeah. Come out in the neighborhood. That would never happen to them. And so it's the same way to me as these things always. People of color is always end up dead in these situations. What we're talking about. So it's not. To me, it's more than just de-escalation. Of course, we got to have de-escalation, but it's the relationship between the police and people of the community, of the black community. And it's like I don't know. It's almost. I want to say it's almost like occupation in a sense, and it's like they're coming in with an attitude or stereotyping already in their mind, either shoot to kill or black people have been hearing this. Black people are prone to criminality and that type of thing. And I don't know if it's so much as a little bit of which I know has racism has something to do with it, but I think a lot of these officers may think they're doing a good job or may think they're doing the right thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Everybody thinks that they're the good guy in the situation. Absolutely, Joker. Man, there are a number of things at play here. And you guys had the opportunity to get into politics. I heard a little bit of last week's show, and I didn't have that opportunity. So I want to take some advantage of that here and try to tie this together for our folks here, because here we are on a presidential election, and where one candidate has admittedly stolen an election. Has literally come out in the party and said, yes, we were in cahoots with media outlets.
The fix was in.
Look, we rigged this. We rig this. This is the outcome.
Wow.
And because your alternative is so bad, we want you to choose this person because your alternative is so bad, which is amazing to me. But anyway, that people are still considering supporting that person after that party has told us that they stole the election, that they rigged it.
Wow.
So anyway,
That calls for this right here then.
I do not blame you for wanting a female president,
and I can't hear it.
but that's a wicked woman.
Oh, it was. Go ahead, Joker. You might have heard this quote before.
Go ahead.
No, but so anyway, you have nobody talking about how to seriously address this issue that is in the structure and the fabric of criminality of people of color, expanded sentences of people of color, just a disenfranchisement. And now you've got candidates at the top of the list that have no significant plan on addressing any of those issues. If you are going to support the lady that stole and was in cahoots to steal a nomination, if you're going to vote for her anyway, then I would suggest that you not give your vote away freely. You need to hear a short list of female African Americans that she's considering for the Supreme Court. You need to hear a short list of that, because without the African American female vote, there is no Clinton presidency. So you need to hear that. You need to hear that there's going to be some reform in the justice system, in the criminal system, in the way that we train our police officers, and in the way that we prosecute our police officers when deaths occur. If you're not talking that, then how can a community still consider supporting someone that stole an election? Now,
How can? But what other choice do we have? I mean,
so
we
hold
just-
on.
So that's
So-
man, Barry. That's just like we're caught in a pickle.
Joker.
We're caught in a pickle.
It is because you don't have any other choices that you need to be considering other choices.
There's a third choice.
Because if you allow them to get away with stealing this nominee and have a corporate candidate, if you allow it this time, then from now on, all of your choices are going to be corporate candidates. The Democrats give a lot of lip service about getting the money out of big big politics. Well, she is big money. She is the epitome of big money. That's
Yes, she
just
is.
lip service.
I agree, but I mean, for as this election is concerned, so of course you're not endorsing Trump. So I mean, what?
No, so
are you
what I'm saying is now's the time to build a third party. Don't look short term in 4 years. Right now, we need to do something different so that we're never held hostage by a political party again.
Let me
We need to start building something different now.
let me build on.
And
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Perry.
use that. Regardless, forget about the next 4 years. Give it to whoever. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Oh,
It doesn't really matter.
Ooh.
So now you start building for years to come, so that no one political party can say this is going to be your nominee. The power has to remain with the people, and you demand that political party address the issues that are plaguing the community. The way your community is being policed, the way that your community is being sentenced, the way that your community is handled economically, all of that. So you tie it all in together. In fact, I've been seriously looking at the Green Party candidate with her vice presidential
Steve
nominee
Steele.
this past week. It's just she seems to speak more to the issues. That party seems to be speaking more to the issues than what the corporate candidate
Stein.
is doing.
Is that the name, Perry? Stein?
Yeah, Jill Stein.
Jill Stein. Thank you. I want to build on something you said. Two things you said. Well, I want to build on one thing and just kind of offer a counter to another, but it actually kind of goes into your entire point you're making. There is a possibility that one thing about, not so much because of what's been going on in the Democratic Party, but these meltdowns that are colossal even for Trumpian standards are kind of it's splintering that party so much that a third party candidate who is polling around the double digits, Gary Johnson of the Libertarian Party, former New Mexico governor, there's a chance he might get up to 15% in the polls, and if he does, that will in effect put him at the table for the debates, and then you'll have a counter narrative to both the Democrats and the Republicans in there. The presence of Donald Trump in this election, willingly or maybe not so willingly, might have triggered the beginning of that process. And of course, there is the candidate Jill Stein on the Green Party. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get the numbers they need to get at the table, but it's a start. The other thing though is with the Democratic Party. To your point, you mentioned the corporate involvement. The DNC at the end of the day is a private organization, and the notion that the Democratic Party would throw all their weight behind the only heavyweight Democrat in the pool is not surprising to me at all. I mean, I think that anyone shocked by this is not paying attention. Bernie Sanders is no longer in the Democratic Party. He only jumped in to run. We know that. So I'm not surprised. I'm glad it's coming to light, but it tells me that a lot of America has not been paying attention until this blockbuster story hit the fan in an age where we have so much electronic access to everything. And I hope it's a lesson that we pay more attention, because I don't think we've been doing that. The fact that this is even really big news.
Yeah, I think that, at the end of the day, I think Trump and all of them are in kind of cahoots together. I think Trump doesn't really want to be president.
I don't think so either.
I don't think.
I don't get that vibe.
I don't get that vibe, and I think he just says stuff and
he's hoping he'll go away.
He's trying to go away, but everything he does, he says all kind of stuff, and the polls go up. It's like, his numbers go.
All right, this was really fun, but stop voting for me. I got a reality shows I want to do.
I heard the funniest soundbite the other day where they said that he was getting intelligence briefings, and then they said, well, they also gave one to Hillary, and he goes, you can't brief her.
Oh, wow. Oh, that Donald.
Hey.
That Donald's a fool.
Yeah.
Hey, man, let's go to break.
Yeah, let's go to break.
Outside of break, man, before we go to break, man, let me mention that Javonte Smart and Josh Anderson, Javonte Smart of Scotlandville, Josh Anderson of Madison Preparatory Academy, will be playing in the 24/7 Under Armour basketball game held August the 20th. They are the first kids from Louisiana to represent in the game, awesome. And Baton Rouge has 2.
Wow.
Baton Rouge has got some talent, folks. I mean, and not on the hard court. We have got some talent.
And we're about 32 days away from football. It's coming back. We know we've been giving you guys a lot. It's been a lot going on in the world, but I promise you, we will get back.
We get some toy football tomorrow.
We get back to the sports here in a minute. Preseason getting ready to start. Only good news I heard this week, and I'm going to say this before we go to our break. Our break song is going to be Antagonistic by K. Reno. K. Reno, we got to have some of him for a day like this. But the only good news, well, I'll say it's good news to me. It may not be good news to no one else. But Dylan Roof and George Zimmerman both.
I heard about that. I did hear about that last night. That's awesome.
Yeah, Dylan Roof, guy came down, caught him in the shower, gave him a little 2-piece. Not endorsing, but and George Zimmerman. This was a white guy. Saw him in the bar and claimed that he was bragging about the killing of Trayvon Martin. You're making me sick.
Told y'all, man. We'll tell you. Well, I'll tell you at break. I don't know if I can say it on the air, but that's awesome.
But like I was saying, that's being antagonistic. So check out Casey.
Yeah. I like that song. You
like that, huh?
Yes. Yeah. I was telling.
While we're
I was saying
antagonist
right before we came. Oh, don't do this microphone. Come on, here we go.
microphone.
I was saying right before we came back. I said I got to get the link to that. That's tight. I never heard that before.
Yeah, coach, that was a good selection.
Hey man, K Reno is and very conscientious, so it's good to have him on, and look for some more coming from him in the future.
Oh yeah.
He must be about our age, I'm guessing, by listening to some of the lines in that.
No, he's a young guy. He's from New Orleans.
What?
No, Houston.
Oh, he's
okay.
from Houston. Oh, I thought he was from New
Yes.
Orleans. But I know he has a big following, you know, and everything. So
Looking at
K. Reno-
YouTube, he's got 50,000
That's
views. So
what's up.
somebody's listening. He's not a megastar, but some people are listening. If you got that many hits, you
Yeah,
know?
what's the guy's name? In we interviewed him from New Orleans.
What's about D? Whatchamacallit?
Yeah,
Huh?
what's his name, Perry?
From New Orleans.
Yeah, from New Orleans. Remember we interviewed him before? We had him on the show.
Was it D?
D
D12?
D12 or something like that. I know he rapped.
He's
Yeah,
cold.
I know who you're speaking of. We didn't have him on the show. We
Oh.
had Slim on the show the same day that we previewed
That's right.
Right,
his song.
right.
Yeah, and Slim's in the video.
Yeah.
D12 is cold. I like him.
Yeah, man.
I hope I got the name right. He is cold. I like that
Dino.
dude.
I don't think it's 12.
It's-
Give me a minute,
Okay.
guys. Let's move on.
Sorry about that. Okay, yeah, D12 that was Eminem's old group. All right, we're getting into music talk here.
D1.
D1, thank you. Okay, I was close. Just cut the 2 off. All right, that dude is cold though, folks. He is cold. YouTube him up. All right.
Yeah, you was close, man. But what we got on the sports side?
Well, look,
today?
we got
Eric?
look, we got
Talk some sports.
Let's talk a little sports. It's been a while. You know the Olympic Games, the 2016 Summer Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro just got underway. The opening ceremonies were last night. The first gold medal was won by an American. Her name was Virginia Thrasher. It was an air rifle. I couldn't even tell you what air rifle looks like, but hey, chalk one up for the USA, I suppose. But anyway, the games are on. They're underway. We were talking before, while you can expect a lot of drama and action and fun on the track scene. We're going to have to see Usain Bolt, on the track scene. That's going to be fun. We're going to have swimming. We're going to have soccer, a lot of sports that are going to catch our attention. Gymnastics, and we expect the Americans to do well. You got the controversy with the Russians. But, we do try to, like we said, talk about sometimes the bigger picture that's brought on by sports. And there was a video we kind of caught my attention last week that was going around the internet about the about an Olympic Games of years past, about 48 years ago, the 1968 Summer Olympic Games in Mexico. And I think, with you look at the events going on around the country right now, particularly with police and the community.
Paying attention. It's the Olympics are not at all like it used to be. You remember the '96 Atlanta?
Oh my
Olympics?
God, yeah, Michael Johnson with the
Everyone
gold
was tuned in.
shoes and all them, yeah. But the Olympics, the 1968 Olympics are the issues going on that were being discussed. The climate is very similar to what's going on now. You have a lot of civil unrest. You have a lot of people demanding some fair treatment, and that abuses from people in positions of power come to a stop. And in 1968, that was the year in Mexico when John Carlos and Tommy Smith, who were Americans, won the gold and bronze.
With the black fist up.
in the 200, I believe it was in the 200 meters, and held up the black gloves with the black fist, and they caught a little heck when they came back to the United States, and they went through their trials and tribulations, but at the end of the day, they kind of came out. Today they're considered heroes, and they were brave, and it's a story that today in 2016 has a positive light. Well, that third fella.
You know what, though, Eric? It still didn't result into financial success for either one of them, like many of their fellow citizens who win gold medals that are of the dominant culture, especially during that time, were able to capitalize on.
Absolutely. I mean, they made a sacrifice. They sacrificed their short-term and perhaps long-term financial gain to speak their conscience, and they
But
did.
The platform was a lot bigger than the whole world, and that's pretty much the contrast. Now it's like now people not even talking about the Olympics. And in Brazil, one of the most beautiful places, and man, I can just only imagine. I had an Olympic dream when I was young. You know what I mean? The
Right.
Olympics was like,
Remember when they were in L.A.?
right, when
Yeah.
you're in L.A. and just of course, with Carl Lewis and everything,
Yeah.
with 4 gold medals. And all the way back, Jesse Owens, just reliving back when Cassius Clay, and man, just and all of those people, and Wilma Rudolph, and some of those people. But now, even if guys wanted to try to make a stand, it's the platform. It's like people are not even. It's so much going on. You think it's because of what's going on, or just because other sports have taken over?
Well, I think the death. I'm gonna borrow a line from Perry, paraphrase a line from Perry. I think the death of the Olympics is greatly exaggerated. There's supposedly, the estimate I heard on Thursday was that there'd be over 1 billion viewers this year, which is a record. Now there's 7 billion people on Earth now, as opposed to 3.5 or 4. So there's a difference in proportion. But look, we're football. We are in the football capital of the world. We're in the football region of the world. We're a little football crazed, and it's close to football season. So I do think other things get greater attention. But let me tie this together with a bow with John Carlos and Tommy Smith before we kind of move on to the bigger picture of the present day. There was a third guy in that picture, a white man named Peter Norman. He was an Australian, and he won the silver. And actually, the record he ran for the 200 meters to this day, some 48 years later, still stands as the Australian record for the 200 meters. Well, Peter Norman Peter Norman actually he was told about what John Carlos and Tommy Smith wanted to do. He gave them his black gloves, and he only had one pair. He said, well, how about y'all put one on each hand? That's why you see one fist raised and the other fist raised. And word got back that he was sympathetic to their cause when he was interviewed. He said, I stand with them, something to that effect, and pretty forcefully. He didn't half-step it. And when he got back, he was told to pretty much distance himself from those guys. He refused. Well, he came back, he was kind of a pariah. And even when Sydney hosted the Olympics, and mind you, Australia had its own form of apartheid going on in the late 60s. A lot of people didn't know that. You always hear about South Africa, and they were going through their transitional phases, and he was anti-apartheid. And he was ostracized for that. He was really put in a bad way, didn't get any endorsements, could not compete. He qualified. He smoked everybody in the competition for the 72 Olympic trials. They wouldn't put him on the team. Year 2000 rolls around, and they would not allow him on the committee. They wouldn't let him be in any of the festivities unless he apologized for his role in that Black Power, the symbolism back in the 60s that he was a part of. He refused. He died in 2006. Posthumously, the Australian government apologized for keeping him off the 72 team and for not letting him be involved in the 2000, this century, not letting him be involved in the Olympic celebration. I guess it's a little history lesson that these huge sporting events, even if there are other sports like football that capture our attention more, these platforms, these events can be used for social messages, social change. I think that's what Tommy Smith and John Carlos did, and they're hailed as heroes to this day. Peter Norman did not quite get the hero's welcome home, but he absolutely is every much as a hero as those two are. It also shows that you look at the year 2000, he was still being persecuted for that. That there's still a lot of change that needs to be done even all these years later. And look, you never know what might come about at these Olympics. Maybe it'll be all sports, but there's always an opportunity. Sports gives us a platform because we all have this universal love for competition in sports. It gives us a platform like we have at Louisiana All-American Sports to make changes beyond what I call the toy section of the department store of life. So with that said, I hope I didn't ramble through that too much, folks.
No, it's a great story, man. And,
Yeah.
Actually, hey, things happen. We go way back. But I look at the Olympics, though, when we talked about Jesse Owens, and we talked about these different ones that had symbolism and great moments, and Carl Lewis in the 84 Olympics. And now just with, I think the luster is not as high it was. Maybe just because when I was younger, I was just more excited about it. Mm-hmm. But with a lot of the steroid use in the track and field, a lot of this controversy that's going on with the Russian athletes, a lot of them being banned from being in the Olympics, and medals being redistributed and stripped of gold, and this person now is the gold medal, so I think now people are not of course the world is still going to be watching. I just doesn't think it has the luster as it once did. A gold medal was a big deal, but now, especially like with USA basketball, these guys are making big money, so the medal is not.
But remember, we didn't win the gold in 2004. I mean, there's some pride on the. I mean, I kind of get what you're saying. I do think, kind of like yourself, it used to be more exciting to me because I was younger. I think all these things were bigger. It felt bigger when you're younger because your world is only so big when you're a little boy or a
Right,
teenager
right.
or a young man.
Right.
So I kind of try to look at it from two ways almost. Look at myself as a young person and as the whole. So I don't know. You might be onto something,
Yeah,
Joker.
well, you can kind of see the decline. I remember when I was younger, you could look at the, of course, boxing. The amateur
yeah.
boxing used to be on TV.
Yeah.
Gymnastics. Now we had with Gabby Douglas last 4 years that kind of brought a little bit of excitement. It was some Olympic moments there last 4 years. This year we got Michael Phelps coming back. We got I'm anxious to see because I'm a big boxing fan, and so we have a young lady. We have women boxing now in
Right.
Olympics, and she won the gold medal. She's from Detroit.
He's from Flint.
Oh,
Flint, Michigan, okay.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. You know a little something, my coach.
Hard times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, man, so I get the point of both of you. I think Rio de Janeiro, the whole Brazil experience, the whole scandals with the International Olympic Committee may taint the whole Olympic scene a little bit. And whether or not that country of color can pull off a successful
Right.
event, which a lot of people have been extremely critical of.
The Zika
So we'll
virus
see.
and all that.
We'll see if they can make it through without any terrorist attacks. Then it's a successful Olympics.
I agree
So,
there. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, no, I was gonna say, hey man, let's talk about the Hall of Fame. And
Absolutely.
before we actually go there, let me state that about 3 weeks ago now, the Southwestern Athletic Conference came out with their first team for SWAC football. And I'm going to pat myself on the back here, Eric, a little bit. Two of those members, one is, of course, the running back from Southern University.
You talking about the current one? Lenard Tillery?
Tillery.
Okay, just making sure. Okay.
Yes, Lenard Tillery is first team all SWAC. Of course, predict to be the player of the SWAC. The other gentleman, though, that is notable, Eric, is Chad Williams.
Whoa! All right, man. I don't have my thing queued up, but Chad Williams, folks. And if you listen to the show weekly, you probably have heard the name before. But football season was a ways back. Chad Williams, the whole Louisiana All-American Sports project started off as an experiment at Madison Prep Academy. Coach Perry Daniels was an assistant on the football team. I kind of weaseled my way on the next year. Anyway, we were broadcasting Madison Prep Academy sports over the internet for the students, and it just grew from there. But Chad Williams was a very gifted athlete. He was a star on that team. He was a quarterback. He also played some defense. He also played basketball, all-state, very gifted guy. And, of course, we've, followed him through his last 2 years of high school, into college at Grambling. He only played football. And we've talked about, he plays wide receiver at Grambling, and we talked about Chad over and over and over and over again when the opportunity arises. Chad should be a senior this year, if my math is correct. And just couldn't happen to a better guy, man. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Perry, I met, I believe it's Chad's older brother, when it was an older brother of his when I would first join the Louisiana Eagles semi-pro football team. We kind of had our own get-together, some 7-on-7s locally, and I met him one Sunday and was talking to him about Chad. I mean, his dedication. He talks about how Chad gets up at 5 o'clock or 5:30 every morning to hit the gym, and he's just so dedicated in what he does. It is my sincere hope that this, and a nice kid on top of that this fine young man gets a break, gets to take his athletic dedication to a level in which he's paid, hopefully the NFL, if not then the CFL or AFL, I hope, and just kind of show that as an example, that hard work pays off. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Sorry to go on that tangent, but I just had to say good things about that young man. I'm happy to hear that.
Absolutely. Let's get into the HOF.
All right, so we have the Pro Football Hall of Fame, some of the greatest of all time. Let's see, we got about 12 minutes left, so I'm going to try to rapid fire on these. We should have enough time to get it in. The headliner, and I'm just this is in an order that ESPN cranked out. It probably is. I'm not going to say it's the order of importance, but I think the headliner is probably Brett Favre in this year's class as far as the grand scheme. He's the only first ballot Hall of Famer on the list. Look, we all know that he made 297 consecutive starts at quarterback. At the time he retired, he led the NFL in touchdown passes, also in interceptions thrown, but that's Brett Favre for you. Eli Manning, to tie that streak, would have to start all 16 games every year, and then the first 2 games of the 2023 season to reach Brett Favre's mark at the age of 42, just to put it in contrast. Brett Favre was fun to watch. He's the old gunslinger. He was a character. Football is a little less fun without him, and congrats to the old gunslinger. I thought I was just going to kind of go. I was going to go. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. Sure. Yeah, Eddie DeBartolo, owner of the San Francisco 49ers, built one of the greatest dynasties in pro football history. Really revolutionized the way that talent and marketing in football was done, and got key visionaries in the sport of football involved. He might have gotten in a little sooner to the Hall of Fame, were it not for his dalliances with Edwin Edwards and the whole casino licensing thing in the 90s. But Edward DeBartolo's first owner to win the Super Bowl 5 times. I think that speaks for itself. Tony Dungy is my personal favorite off of this list. Double-digit wins and playoff appearances. Tony Dungy coached the Colts for 7 years, from 2002 to 2008, and had at least 10 wins and made the playoffs in every one of those years. That is unbelievable. Of course, they won the Super Bowl following the 2006 season in Super Bowl 41, and he had a pretty good career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, pulling that franchise out of the doldrums in the late 90s, early 2000s. Kevin Green, I remember him best with the then Los Angeles Rams. He was just a monster at linebacker and defensive end, a sack master, very deserving of getting into the Hall of Fame. Marvin Harrison was cold-blooded. Yeah. This is a guy, he had 1,000 receiving yards and 10 touchdown receptions in 8 straight seasons. That is unbelievable. He played with some very bad Colts teams and some very good Colts teams.
Quarterback.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He had Peyton, but he also played with Jim Harbaugh for a minute. I mean, the Colts weren't so great until when he, Edgerrin James, and Peyton Manning came together. Oh my God, was that a show? Yeah. Orlando Pace. This dude was a monster at Ohio State in college. You knew he was going to be special. He was the number 1 overall pick in 1997 with the Rams. He anchored that offensive line in the greatest show on turf. I mean, look, but Orlando Pace is kind of a big guy. He wasn't all muscle, so we made some jokes about him that he must have eaten his opponents. But I'll tell you, if you looked on the field, it looked like he was eating the defensive ends, because he'd swallow them up and they'd never be seen again. Former Oakland Raider and 1976 league MVP. I'm sorry, did I say MVP? I think he was league MVP in '76. Anyway, Ken Stabler, the late Ken Stabler, former New Orleans.
Ken. Oh yeah,
the Snake.
He made it.
Former New Orleans Saint. He was he died last year, but he is in the Hall of Fame now posthumously. Kenny Stabler and Dick Stanfel. I think this is long overdue. This dude made so many all NFL team selections back in the day. It was incredible. He was a guard for the Lions and the Redskins. Made all of NFL 5 times in 7 years. He did have a relatively short career. That might have been why it took so long, but well deserved.
Let me ask you this: Who were the biggest snubs? My biggest snub was
T.O. Yep.
He
should have made it last year, in my opinion. I think it's ridiculous, but
I was looking at a stat, and it was showing. I wish Coach could hear this. It's a soundbite that was on Colin Cowherd, and the guy broke it down how T.O. and Brett Favre pretty much have the same numbers when you look at when you go by the position. And he should have just been and was talking about how Brett Favre had more off the field issues.
T.O. didn't have any off the field issues. Not while he was playing anyway.
Right. So they were mad because T.O. did sit-ups in his driveway and and stuff like that, and they were saying how he was a team obliterator and he broke up teams, but they forgot when Brett Favre held.
He busted his way out of Green Bay.
Yeah, he held those guys hostage for a couple of years. Never wanted to mentor Aaron Rodgers. Then did the same thing when he went to Minnesota. Well, not going to come back. I'm going to come back.
Well, he had to go to New York to get to Minnesota. Remember, he had to literally force his way out of Green Bay to get there.
Right.
Because they didn't want him to play for the enemy.
And that brings up another topic I want to talk about. We don't have time to talk about it now. Maybe next week we can talk about. It's been a big thing going on now with marijuana and the legalization of marijuana and people getting caught in the NFL. And should they test for marijuana in the NFL, being that they sponsor Budweiser, being that these guys pass out opiates and pass out painkillers to their players and everything, and they have to deal with that addiction. But they're going to suspend the guy for marijuana. So I want to get into that maybe next week. We don't really have time to get into it this week. But, Coach, for your Hall of Fame people, what do you think about the snubs and, this class this year?
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that eventually they're going to have to let T.O. in.
Sure.
It is sad that he was snubbed this year. I'm just happy for the Snake, man. I was a
Yeah, me
huge,
too.
Me too.
I was a huge Raiders fan, and John Madden and Dave Casper, Litnikoff,
Goes to the post.
Cliff
Yep.
Branch. I mean, that was just a fantastic offense, and Stabler was the key to that offense. The way he extended plays by scrambling, you know, and he wasn't very agile,
Right.
but he was elusive.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It was like watching a robot run around.
yeah,
Hey,
but
but
he
he-
could keep a play on
That's
the
right. He
going.
kept a player alive, man. He was the Snake, you know.
Yep.
So that's good to see him, and you know the St. Louis Ram. Even though you know I've never been a Ram fan, but to see Orlando Pace taken as the #1 overall pick, and you know he got in, got his money, and got out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It seems like it was just the other day Orlando Pace was being drafted.
Right.
Right.
It doesn't
Wow.
feel like that long. It
Right.
doesn't feel like they
It
felt.
doesn't.
Remember, he was a Heisman finalist. Remember that?
Yeah, I can remember
You
him
know?
being the #1
Yeah.
pick and everything. But he's one guy that actually panned out to everything that they said he was going to be at that position. Because usually guys I see getting picked at that high position, #1, or you know, often
He started
they don't
a
really
trend.
turn out. You know?
He started a trend, though. He was the first. He was the first. In fact, here's a fun stat. He was the first offensive lineman since 1968 to be drafted #1 overall. And after that, you saw a lot of left tackles. You know, your Eric Fishers. He was a right tackle, but a lot of tackles. Eric Fishers and the Jokels, and he went second. But you get my point. A lot of
Right.
tackles went very high, if not #1 in the draft after that.
Yeah.
And it's paid off. I mean, it's the second most important position on offense now.
And what a great story with of course, Tony Dungy. I mean, how
Oh.
could you not love that guy? You know, this guy epitomized coaching in a sense where he did it his way. You know, in the atmosphere of the NFL where there's so much testosterone, and for this guy to be a man of God and not use any profanity, not berate his players, and to be able to even get that position and get results, and, you know, just a quiet storm. Had a tragedy in his life where his son committed suicide. You know,
Yeah, and kept going.
And he kept going, and so you know, it's nothing bad. You can say he is the epitome to me of a role model of coaching, and he sets the standard. Tony Dungy, greatest of all time to me.
Hey, who do we have coming up in about 4 minutes?
We got somebody else great. We have Noel Jackson with Music Satisfaction.
Go ahead, Perry.
Hey man, no, I'm glad he mentioned the Tony Dungy story. I think also though, in the Tony Dungy story, you have to mention Art Rooney, who had the vision to and the courage to allow someone that was different than the norm an opportunity to coach.
Right.
You know, and the Steeler organization was the place where Tony Dungy really fomented his roots in coaching and allowed him to accomplish the things that he later accomplished in Indianapolis. So that
correct
was
me
just-
if I'm wrong. Wasn't Herm Edwards also a part of that?
Absolutely, he was. Yes, he was.
First rate organization
so-
there in Pittsburgh.
Absolutely, especially when the Rooney family, when the original Rooney ran the organization. And even the Brett Favre story is a great story, guys. It's about, you know, having the courage in yourself, the belief in yourself, raw talent that was a little too immature early in his career with Atlanta, and then we saw that maturity manifest itself when someone took a chance on him. Ron Wolf, NFL royalty now, took a chance. Said, "Hey, I had this guy rated as the #1 player in the draft." And now, when Ron Wolf gets the job at Green Bay, he trades a first-round draft choice for this third-rounder, this third-string quarterback from Atlanta.
Wow.
You know, so it's just an amazing story, man. And the number of interceptions that the man threw on his way to the amount of touchdowns he threw. And the amount of starts that he had.
The consistency. You got to get that to him. Man.
Absolutely.
Man.
I am so thankful for Ron Wolf and also the Atlanta Falcons brass, because you know who the Atlanta Falcons kept? Got rid of Brett Favre and kept Chris Miller and Billy Joe Tolliver, who eventually became a Saints quarterback. I'm so glad, because as bad as the Saints got their butts whooped in the 90s, it would have been even worse if that dude had played for the Atlanta Falcons, and they would have gotten to the Super Bowl and won it before we did. Thank goodness. Shoot.
Man, it's been a great show. I definitely great to have you guys back. Great to have Coach back. And I just want to thank you guys again for being here. I want to thank the listening audience out there, and just be on the lookout. I'm developing something, here for WHYR 96.9 FM, and I just want you guys to be on the lookout for it.
I just want to say a very quick thank you to my coworkers at the Louisiana Workforce Commission. They threw a surprise office baby shower for myself and for my wife Angela. It was I was really moved and really humbled. That's all you can be when that many people show love and support for you, is humbled. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who's listening or not listening. Thank you guys. I was really moved yesterday.
That's awesome. Hey man, the wife and I are headed to a concert tonight. We're going to see the King of Rock.
Run DMC.
What?
Sucker MC.
Call me sire.
Burn my kingdom. You must
Use fire.
I won't stop rocking till
I retire. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So-
man, that's what's up. Run DMC.
Hey, did we secure Coach Ken Hilton for next week, Eric?
Not yet, but I have I have a high degree of confidence in that.
All right, so hopefully we'll have him next week. ADT, JNS, love you.
Have a good afternoon. What the hell did the kill?
Nah, I didn't have
Hail to the King and Lords of War. May He protect us from the evil. Hail to the King, Lords of